Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Ross. I'm the Director of Clinical Services at theDr.com, and I just found out a few seconds ago that Dr. Tom is not going to join us today, unfortunately. So those are my favorites when we get to riff back and forth and answer all of your questions. So I'm going to do my best today without him, but I always enjoy spending time with all of you. It's an honor to be here, and I just enjoy all of your questions. So I wanted to start with a product that we promoted recently. You may have received an email, and it is called Gluten Sensitive. That's what the GS stands for, Dual Detox. And this is an amazing product to support phase 1 and phase 2 of detoxification. And at the end of the day, we are exposed to unlimited number of toxins. I mean, in our environment, in our houses, and our body only has a limited number of ways to detox. So anything that we can do to limit our exposure to detox and then support our detoxification pathways is amazing. So this is a great little write-up here of, I mean, we've all driven past this on the highway, right? And seen this happening, and this we don't always see happening, but this is what they're doing to our food supply. Notice this person is all suited up because it is so toxic. And cars, the pollution when we're driving, in our houses, like all of this furniture is off-gassing toxicity. Medicine cabinet, the skincare that many people use. I know that this group that's hanging out on Facebook Live right now is much more sophisticated, but laundry detergent, what you clean your house with. I had somebody that was coming in to clean, and she got frustrated because she wanted to shine the stainless steel, and so she would try to sneak in this toxic, because I was like, no, I have all the cleaning supplies. This is what you get to use. And I would come in and smell these noxious fumes. So anyway, I had to confront about that. But we just want to do as much as we can to limit the exposure to the toxicity. And then using a product like Dual Detox, you can do a comprehensive metabolic panel that can be ordered by any doctor. It's super inexpensive to run one of those, and you can look at liver enzymes, ALT, AST, GGT, bilirubin, all of these markers. If they can add on an LDH, lactose dehydrogenase, that's another marker that can indicate or point to liver health. But all of those can let you know if maybe there's some liver congestion or liver stress. But this is just one of my favorite products to use. I don't know if you know, but this N-acetylcysteine has been really limited to where you can even purchase this right now. A lot of it's been pulled off the market. So it's great that it's in this product and it's available to you, but this is one of the important ingredients to make glutathione in the body, which is the most important antioxidant in the body. It helps to support detox as well as many other things. So anyway, that's GS Dual Detox. If you have questions on it, be sure to put them into the chat. And our first question is from Shenkio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ms. Johnston. Does anyone that has had braces need to detox because of the stainless steel and possible nickel in the braces? That is a really, really great question. And I'm sure that there's some tests out there that can indicate, I think stainless steel for many people can be one of the lower toxic, but I don't know in the particular braces, what they use, what level of stainless steel that they use, or if there's nickel in there. So doing a screening for Toxic metals could be really helpful. My favorite is, let's see if I can find that here on the DR.com website. I'm still sharing screen. Is the Quicksilver Test. And the reason why I like this test, let's see if I can get here to labs and then I'll unshare this. I just need to tape it in. I like this test because you don't have to do a chelating agent. So it's this Quicksilver Mercury tri-test, but it tests more than just mercury. But it looks at mercury from hair, blood, and urine. So it's really comprehensive and you don't have to use a chelating agent. So you never want to use a chelating agent unless you have confirmed that you don't have blood-brain barrier permeability. And it's not often that I see someone that doesn't have some level of intestinal permeability and blood-brain barrier permeability. If you do have blood-brain barrier permeability, it can drive those metals into the brain. So this test is a great way to screen that's really accurate without having to do a chelating agent that could potentially drive those metals into the brain. Now, if you wanted to rule out blood-brain barrier permeability, the best way to do that is Neural Zoomer Plus. So on the website, there's Neural Zoomer and there's Neural Zoomer Plus. Neural Zoomer Plus has 48 different antibodies where we're looking at IgA, IgG, and IgM. That's 3 different ways to see if your immune system is reacting to these different antigens. It's looking at brain autoimmunity, brain inflammation, blood-brain barrier permeability, different infections. It's a really comprehensive, amazing test, but I definitely recommend that before anyone would want to chelate any of those metals out of the body. I think that's a really important thing to do first. Okay, Kat says, I'm on a detox program and need to have a colonoscopy also. I don't want to drink 2 bottles of Gatorade with all that sugar. What can I do instead? Excellent. So many people don't want to do colonoscopies, and I'm of the mindset that if we run a gut tumor on somebody and I'm interpreting that and they have high levels of occult blood in the stool, it's critically important that you do a colonoscopy. Or if there's high levels of inflammation, it can be important to go in and rule that out. A colonoscopy is looking for diverticuli, polyps. Those are things that don't show up on like a gut tumor or a comprehensive stool analysis. So it's really 2 different things and they both have a place. They're both important. So I would not do Gatorade. Basically there's flame retardant in Gatorade, chemicals, food colorings. And so I think that they allow you to do broth. I don't know, I haven't had a colonoscopy in a while, but I think that it's clear liquids. So was it apple juice? I would ask for other options other than Gatorade. If they're recommending Gatorade, that is basically electrolyte drink, and you can make your own electrolyte drink with like a pharmaceutical grade electrolyte drink like Elite. I'm not sure if we have that on the website. If not, we need to add that. So you can make your own with water and pharmaceutical grade electrolytes, but I would not do the Gatorade either. And I would just ask your doctor for other alternatives. Apple juice is going to probably really dysregulate blood sugar because that's going to be really high in sugar, but it could be, I would go for vegetable broth if at all possible. Make sure it's gluten-free and organic and see if your doctor approves that. I've also heard like people going in right before the colonoscopy and having an colonic can be really helpful of just kind of cleaning out any of that residual. So I don't know if that's an option with the timing. Some of these colonics are like 7 in the morning, but that could be an option for you. Okay, so Shen Kilo asks, is lowering homocysteine, like going from 5.7 to 4 to 3 to 4 in 3 months bad? My doc has me taking huge amounts of B12 and B vitamins and detoxing. Excellent question. And homocysteine is such a critical marker that is not typically run in conventional medicine, but we have it as part of our functional blood chemistry panel. I think it's such an important screening marker. And I see it so often elevated. I don't often see it low at a 4, but I would say that it's very possible that you're over methylated. So there's a problem with being under methylated, which I see happening with a lot of people. So I'll often have people come and say, Michelle, I have MTHFR. And that is a genetic test that people often have run, or their doctor orders it for them. And those people that have like a heterozygous or homozygous, that's 1 gene or 2 genes, one from mom and dad, they often have issues with detoxifying. There can be issues with methylating B vitamins. That's adding on a methyl group. And so it's important to take B vitamins that already have that methyl group added. And those B vitamins are used for so many enzymatic pathways in the body. They're so critical. They're so important. So this marker can let us know if those genes are turned on or not. Sometimes I see people with a homocysteine of 7, which is kind of just perfect and ideal. And we look at MCV and CBC with diff, and that marker, we want to see between 88 and 92. When it's above 92, that can also be a marker that indicates a need for B vitamins. But if your doc has you on huge amounts of B vitamins and your homocysteine is dropping, you could have symptoms of overmethylation. So I would maybe do a search for that. We can't always trust Dr. Google, and sometimes that sends us down a path that puts us in the spear spiral. But I'm trying to think of the methylation doctor that's so great. He owns Seeking Health, that supplement company. I don't know why I'm spacing on his name right now. But if you go to seekinghealth.com, look into Ben Lynch, Dr. Ben Lynch. He has go to his website. So don't go down, don't just ask randomly Dr. Google, because you don't know what you're going to get. Search for Dr. Ben Lynch and overmethylation and read and see if you're having some of those symptoms. Now remember, these reference ranges, there is not one perfect for everyone, but we kind of see like guidelines of people tend to do better in that 6, 7-ish range, even 8. But I start to worry when people are dropping down to around 4 that they might be experiencing symptoms of overmethylation. So I'd want to see some other markers. I'd want to talk to you about some of the symptoms that you're experiencing right now and if that's going on for you. There's also a panel by Great Plains Laboratory. That's a methylation panel. And maybe you don't need high levels. This is like going deeper, like functional medicine practitioner that is taking you beyond just methylated B vitamins to see if there's like SAMe or other things that you may be deficient in that panel that maybe you need more support with. And that's, it's not Great Plains, it's Doctors Data. See if I can pull it up really quickly. Doctors Data. And the name of the test is going to be, let's see here. me share screen so you can hang with me as I do this. It's going to be in this test menu, maybe toxic. I just want you to be able to ask your doctor for the right test. Not that, I don't want to waste everyone's time. Technology. It's here. Maybe afterwards I can find it and I can pop it into the chat. Yeah, I'm not seeing it right off the bat, but they have a great methylation panel that can really help to dial in that panel for you. It goes well beyond homocysteine and MCV. Okay, let's keep going here. Next question. I want to ask Dr. Tom right now. Dr. Tom, add to this. What do you think? That's what I'm used to doing, but thanks for hanging in here with me. Okay, Quincy says, my body went into toxic burden last year, dental issues, environmental toxins, and mold exposure. I've been healing well, thankfully, but still battle nausea often. Any ideas what could cause this? I've done lots of labs and food sensitivity testing. I'm totally gluten-free. So sorry that this happened to you, Quincy. I see this so often with like a straw that breaks the camel's back. Like our bodies are so amazing and just, you know, want to be in the state of health, but it's this toxic burden that accrues over time. And then dental issues, and there's a lot of toxicity that goes on with dental issues. And you have to remember that all of these infections in our mouth, right? Every time we swallow, we're sending those infections down to the gut. And then people get these chronic gut infections that happen. So, and mold exposure. So what I would want to make sure, Quincy, is that you are not in a moldy environment right now. And the test that I recommend for that is an Fermi test, ERMI. Basically, it's a Swiffer cloth that you want to go throughout your house and like wipe the top of ceiling fans, the top edges of like door jambs, closets, that in the bathroom, you know, that ceiling fan, wipe in there and get some of that dust, and just use one cloth for every room in the house. If you were going to also test like garage or car, I would maybe do another cloth for that. But like the environment where you're sleeping and spending the most time, and that ERMI score ideally should be below 4, but many people are living in a moldy environment and they don't realize it. And that includes a consult with the lab, and they'll go through and they'll be able to point out your score is elevated and these are sick water damage building molds that you're likely exposed to. So first off, you want to make sure your home environment is safe. And then you can see if there's still damage to your body by doing Mycotoxin Antibody testing. We're just about to add a new test to the website, should be in the next week or so. My Myco lab test for an IgG and IgE antibodies to various molds that are associated with sick water damage buildings. And that lets us know if your immune system is reacting. So you can also do urine test, which tests for the metabolites of mold. But sometimes with those tests, we can be eating moldy foods like peanuts or moldy grains. Grains are notorious for mold, or other moldy nuts, and we could be urinating out mold metabolites. So these fungal antibody tests can give us a more accurate idea of if the immune system is responding to these molds. Now, the nausea, it's hard to say at this point if it's because you're still getting exposed to molds, if you are still getting exposed to gluten. I would love to see a wheat sumer test on you, because 90% plus%. I would probably say it's closer to 95% of everyone who comes to me that's on a gluten-free diet and does a wheat sumer, there's still things out of range. There's still intestinal permeability, or they're still getting exposed to wheat or gluten, or maybe a cross-reactive food like corn. For some people, their body interprets corn as wheat, and there's a marker on the corn zoomer that's called corn wheat overlap epitope that basically, here's the receptor site in the body. Let's pretend for gluten it's a perfect square. So gluten comes down and can park on any side of that receptor site. But corn, the molecule for corn is a rectangle, and two ends of that corn molecule can still park on that wheat receptor site and trick your body into thinking it's still getting exposed to wheat. Dairy can also do that. Dairy is a cross-reactive food. So a wheat zoomer, corn zoomer, dairy zoomer bundle, if you bundle at least 4 tests, it really drops the price point down. Could be really helpful. I'm trying to think what else could be causing nausea. It seems to make sense that it is a food sensitivity, but it could be an environmental toxin still in your environment, or really the list goes on and on. I'm sorry you're experiencing that. I would work with a functional medicine practitioner that can help you figure that out and really recommend that. Kim. So Kim had abdominal surgery in July. The swelling's gone down, but every time I eat, my stomach looks pregnant. I tested for leaky gut over a year ago and I followed a strict gluten-free diet after following the leaky gut protocol. How do I know if the swelling is related to surgery or a gut issue? It's an excellent question, Kim. And I'm curious to know, like, abdominal surgery, was it, for the intestines, was it female organ surgery, endometriosis, something like that? It'd be helpful to know a little bit more, but sometimes after surgery, people can develop adhesions or other issues that can cause problems. Have you ruled out small intestinal bacteria overgrowth or fungal overgrowth, SIBO or SIFO? Those can cause a lot of gas and bloating. Like, think about when it's happening. Is it happening? Is it constant? Does it like never go away? Does it kind of ebb and flow? Does it happen more like after meals? A gut zoomer could be really helpful in identifying that. Dr. Tom often recommends, like after surgery, they're called Wobenzyme PS. And this would be something to ask your practitioner if it's a good option for you. But Wobenzyme, I think of them as little Pac-Men, and they go into the body and they're an enzyme that kind of eats up the debris, the adhesions, the things that are not supposed to be there. Now they have to be taken on an empty stomach. Otherwise they act as a really expensive digestive enzyme. So you want to take them away from food. I would say at least an hour before or 2 hours after. And they can be really helpful, but I would want to see a wheat zoomer on you as well to make sure that your strict gluten-free diet is working. I think of the wheat zoomer as a report card. I run it on myself once a year because we don't always feel this brewing in our body. Sometimes we think we're being squeaky clean and so careful, and sometimes there's a skincare product or a food product that we don't realize that we're getting exposed. So I think that's a really important test to make sure that your leaky gut is totally healed, that your gluten-free diet, gluten-free lifestyle really is what I like to call it, is really working. And then have you gone back to your surgeon at the follow-up and, have they palpated? Have they done any scans? I would maybe say maybe an ultrasound to see if anything's showing up that maybe didn't heal properly. I think searching this a little bit further. If everything healed up, seems like it's healed up well with your surgery, then doing a gut zoomer to see if this is maybe a GI issue. And just kind of think, like, does this bloating or swelling, is there gas included in that? And does it happen mostly after meals, after certain foods that you eat? I just would need to know a little bit more information, but I'm sorry you're going through that. Okay, next up is Jill. How long does it take to heal the microbiome? And how do I check the efficiency of my microbiome? I can't seem to gain weight. So excellent question, Jill. It's kind of the million-dollar question, right? It's like, how long does it take to heal? And we're all so different, so much biochemical individuality. And there's so many layers of what, you know, two people that have similar issues, you know, what else is going on, what their genetics are, what the mindset. There's so much power in including mindset and stress reduction for healing. I just see people like expedite their healing when they include that. One of my favorite books is by Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. And I just love to encourage people to read that book to really understand how powerful the mind is for when we're healing. So for the microbiome, I like to know like the status of what we're dealing with. I saw a really amazing, interesting gut zoomer result today. There were so many things going well, and there were just a handful of things that were off, but they were like really off. And so it really helped to like find out what was going on for this person that was like the emergency brake on her healing and causing, likely contributing to the gut issues. She had done also the Zoomers. So we had Wheat Zoomer and several other Zoomers. So we had a really nice picture of likely what the root causes were for her. But without like having that gut zoomer, one of my favorite markers on the gut zoomer is seeing like the diversity markers. And that's so key to, is this person getting tons of variety in their diet? So the American Gut Project was a research study of about 46,000 people, so pretty significant. And they found in the study that the healthiest people were eating at least 30 different plant-based foods every week. And more research is coming out that the closer we get to 50, that's even better. So that includes vegetables and fruit in moderations, because we want to keep that blood sugar stable, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. We should be throwing herbs and spices on our food like confetti. They're rich in polyphenols. They feed the beneficial flora in our gut. They're amazing. So fresh herbs, dried herbs, just want to make sure that they're gluten-free, organic, non-GMO, because they often will use like wheat flour as a flow agent to keep them from clumping. So you really want to make sure that those are gluten-free. And then for people who can tolerate legumes or gluten-free grains, those are also plant-based foods, but variety is key. And they found the unhealthiest people were eating only 10 different plant-based foods every week. And if you think about it, human nature is we all have our 10 favorite foods that we eat on repeat. People go to the grocery store, they buy broccoli and bananas, and when they run out of broccoli and bananas, they go get more broccoli and bananas. And one of the best things that all of us can do is go into the grocery store and make it an adventure. Like, channel your inner 7 or 8 year old. I always think like, how would I make this fun for my nephew or my niece? And look at your cart, make sure you have all the colors of the rainbow. So you want red, orange, yellow, purple, blue, all the different colors in your cart. And just like think, what have I not purchased in a while? Maybe I haven't gotten jicama or bok choy or kiwi, and mix it up. And make a chart, make it a game, and count up how many different plant-based foods that you're eating a week. If you're eating 15, awesome. Next week, go for 17, then go for 19. Often if people jump right to 30, it's overwhelming. They buy all this food, it rots in the bottom of their refrigerator because they don't know what to do with it. If you have gut issues, or if you're trying to like transition to more diversity and more fiber in your diet, then I find that when people cook the food, they can often handle it a lot better. So you can steam a variety of veggies. You can roast. You just want to be careful that you don't get them to where that brown or charred color, because that's ages, and that can advance glycation end products that can be damaging to the brain and associated with blood sugar dysregulation and toxic. So just be careful with how long you roast it. And I know that's the best when it's like crunchy, that brown, we all love that. But steaming, sauteing, you can saute in like a broth if you want to, and then add the oil after it's cooked. So you keep that oil from being rancid or from turning into trans fats. Or you can take a bunch of different veggies and put it in vegetable broth or bone broth, simmer it for 30 minutes or so, and then blend it in a blender, add whatever your favorite seasonings and herbs, and it makes this amazing comfort food. Just drink a mug of that at every meal and you're getting all this diversity, but you're not like having to chew bok choy if you don't love it. You can also pulse things in a food processor. Like if you don't really love kale or chard, and like sprinkle them on salad like confetti. That can be a good way to hide it. I love to do like a chopped veggie salad and put all these different veggies in, pulse them, and then put a delicious homemade dressing over that. You're getting all these different flavors and diversity, but it's easier to chew up. So think about that. Think about adding foods in. We often talk about like removing gluten and soy and corn, but maybe we should all change our mindset to how many new foods can I add into my diet today? If you think about all the veggies, all the fruits, all the herbs and spices, I mean, some people have a harder time with nightshades, so you might want to hold off on those. But nuts and seeds, I try to, in the bottom of my fridge, have this rotation of raw, organic, sprouted, if I could find them, nuts and seeds. And because how many of us have like gone and purchased macadamia nuts, and then we eat those macadamia nuts every day till they're gone. And then we get almonds. I see a lot of almond sensitivities because everyone switched from dairy to almond milk and almond flour and all their paleo treats. And now they've developed an almond sensitivity because they have intestinal permeability or leaky gut, and they're just having almond every day. So I try to just rotate. Those seeds are amazing. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia, hemp. Those are so rich in omega-6 fats that are so healthy for our cell membranes and our brain. So I think omega-3s seem to get all the press, but we need to have a balance of 3, 6, and 9, these essential fats that we need to get from our diet. And so just make sure that you're rotating. If you have sunflower seeds one day, try not to have them again for 72 hours, especially when we have intestinal permeability. It's nice to be on this rotation diet. Like spend some time over the next couple of days and like think about creating 3 days worth of meals, 3 different breakfasts, 3 different lunches, 3 different dinners. I find that people with the most significant food sensitivities is they're just eating eggs every morning for breakfast, and they wonder why they have an egg sensitivity. So, you know, we could have a brown turkey multi-veggie scramble for breakfast. I think we get in this mindset here in the US of we should be, eating pancakes and cereal and all this garbage for breakfast that imbalances blood sugar and does not set up your beautiful, amazing children for success to be able to think in school. We need protein, we need fat at breakfast. So, mixing it up, 3 different lunches, 3 different dinners, mixing up those proteins, those nuts and seeds, those veggies can be really helpful, not only for the health of our gut microbiome, to heal it, to create diversity, but also our overall health. Healthiest people think diversity, think about adding foods in. Yes, most of us need to have gluten out, and I find dairy to be highly inflammatory and toxic to most people. I mean, you think about cow dairy, they pasteurize it and homogenize it. They heat it to a high temperature, then they spin it at a high speed so it can sit on the shelf for over a month and not rot, not sour, not go bad. That can't be healthy food for us. So most of us are not getting raw milk from the Amish farm next door. I find that some people eventually can add in like a raw goat, raw sheep, healthy alternatives to cow milk, but I find that most people initially, and the research is really solid, that if there's a gluten sensitivity, people need to eliminate cow dairy for a minimum of 6 months to allow for that exponential healing. So, and I just find that so many things go away, and that most people, when they add the cow dairy back in, the acne comes back, the asthma, the sinus issues, like all of these issues come back. So if you haven't tried eliminating gluten but not dairy, it's definitely worth trying. And if you're thinking, well, that's not me, I don't have a dairy sensitivity, then a dairy zoomer. I'm such a fan of testing because I think it's easy for all of us to rationalize, well, I don't have that problem. But once our biochemistry is telling us what's going on, it's you can't really argue with that. So Jill, if you can't gain weight, work with someone who can help you figure it out, because there's some reason that your gut microbiome isn't healthy or something's preventing that. I would maybe say a gut zoomer to kind of see what your microbiome status is right now and see maybe what is preventing you. I mean, a zoomer bundle also, like I see, that's one of the classic symptoms of celiac disease is when people are unable to gain weight. So a wheat zoomer could be helpful too, but keep figuring it out, because there's a reason. I know that there's so many people that are overweight and they're frustrated and they can't lose weight. And so often people that are thin also get lumped in this category of, oh, boo-hoo, you're too thin, but you can feel so frail and so weak, and then you start to lose hair and be nutrient deficient. So don't give up, keep searching, because there's a reason why you're experiencing that. Okay. Let's see, Kat is responding to Adriana. I have that too, as does my mom. I'm told inner ear itching means food sensitivity. It definitely can be associated with that for sure. Okay, if you have HLA DR gene, can small amounts of mold, like a shower problem, or only large amounts be problematic? Any level of molds can be a problem. So yeah, and especially if you have those genes, your body can have a really difficult time detoxifying it. So making sure that you are cleaning with things that can really clean up the mold in your house, but sometimes the mold is hidden. It's like in the walls, and it's just preventing you from healing because it's this constant toxicity. If it was just mold, like on the shower curtain, and you could wash that frequently and clean your shower, then that's something that you can maybe stay ahead of. But especially if you have that genetic vulnerability, you need to make sure that your home is your safe space, that it's mold free and that it's non-toxic, because that can be the emergency brake preventing you from fully healing. So yeah, it's if you see that visible mold, you often know that there is a mold problem. And Cheryl, yes, dairy is that inflammatory. It can cause elevation of C-reactive protein, sed rate. I've seen it like we see a gut tumor, there's 8 markers. That test has the most markers of inflammation to really let us know if there's inflammation going on in the gut, and it can light those up. It is absolutely, I mean, when you think about it, as humans, we're not, you know, we have human milk when we're infants and toddlers, right? And then many people lose the ability to tolerate milk, and they have a lactose sensitivity. And that's not even taking into account all of the proteins and the peptides within dairy. So people can be sensitive to the casein or lactose or butyrophilin, the fat, or people have casomorphins, and that's when you eat dairy, your brain thinks it's a drug. So the dairy molecules leak out of your gut, they cross the blood-brain barrier, they park on the opioid receptor sites in your brain, and your brain thinks it's getting a hit of morphine or heroin. So these are the people that are like, Michelle, I can't give up cheese. They're literally addicted to cheese because it's parking on the opioid receptor sites and making them feel euphoric momentarily, but they don't associate the cascade of symptoms that comes after that with that cheese. So this is when a dairy zoomer can be so helpful to see, is dairy inflammatory to your body? And then it's amazing the symptoms that resolve when dairy is pulled out of the diet. Now, in clinical practice, in the last 11 years, I have yet to see anyone who adds dairy back in that doesn't typically get the same symptoms back within a month that they had before. Now, you could be my first exemption to that. I'd be totally okay with that. I just haven't seen it. I see that people that have a dairy sensitivity, that food is highly inflammatory to them. It's linked to a cascade of health issues. And when they add that back in, now camel's milk, goat, sheep, I have seen people be able to tolerate that. And we have the mammalian milk zoomer for that to see if that food, if you can tolerate that well. And usually you need to add a food in for a minimum of 8 weeks before you test, because it takes time to develop antibodies or for a sensitivity to show up in the body. Kim, I was thinking I might get the test for SIBO. How do I find a gastro who will do the correct testing? That's a great question. And a gastroenterologist can order the SIBO breath test. Here's the catch with that. It's super challenging to do. You have to eat a really restricted diet for 24 hours before. I think you're allowed white rice and like broth. It's like less than 5 foods for those 24 hours. And then you have to drink a solution that is going to likely cause gas and bloating. And then you blow into these tubes and they measure the amount of gas that's being produced from your small intestines. It can be a great test if you can do it right. I just had a friend and she's like, oh, I have to redo my SIBO test because I didn't do one of the vials correctly. It can be really challenging. It takes typically 2 mornings of your life, like 4 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday, or whichever 2 days you do it. And it can let you know if you have methane producing, SIBO, lactose. I think there's a couple more now that they're able to test for, and that test can be ordered through insurance. So you can find a GI doctor who will order it. problem is they say the sensitivity and specificity can be about 50% on that test. So a gut zoomer, which has a whole panel that looks at bacteria that's associated with SIBO, has a sensitivity and specificity of about 99%. So that sensitivity and specificity lets us know, like, out of the 100 people that are doing this test, how many people are we going to get incorrect results on? About 1. But if we're running a test where about 50% of the time, we're not going to be able to trust these results. It could be a false positive, a false negative. Then I hate for people to invest their own money in that test. If insurance covers it, great, go for it. But just because you get a clean test, it's not 100% sure that you don't have SIBO. But that could be a great place to start. And you could just ask your gastroenterologist if they can order a SIBO test for you. Okay, Rich says, I recently received evidence of candida overload on a food sensitivity test, but my gut zoomer did not show this a few months ago. Is one test better than the other? Is there another test to resolve the conflict between the two results? Awesome question, Rich. I love you guys' questions. They're great. I love lots of thinkers, lots of people that are digging in and trying to figure this out. So this is great. So here's the thing, Rich. When I see candida on a gut zoomer, I know we've got a big problem because that's one of the last places it's going to show up. The more accurate way would be to do Great Plains Laboratory oats test. So that particular test versus like a Genova oat test is going to be more specific to candida overgrowth. But I would just go by the food sensitivity. I have yet to see anyone with a food sensitivity that shows candida that doesn't have candida on oats. So you could be my one exception. Remember, there's always exceptions to every rule, but I just haven't seen it yet. And so working with a practitioner that can help you to reduce candida. So candida craves sugar. That's how it stays alive. And so anytime you feed sugar, processed carbohydrates, that's going to feed that candida. It's almost like it takes over your brain and creates all these like junk food cravings. So one of the number one ways is really make sure that you're eating a really clean diet. But again, with candida overload, I find that doing like natural antifungals. There is a pharmaceutical antifungal that has fairly low toxicity, but that needs to be prescribed and supervised by a prescribing doc. But there's a lot of natural, super effective antifungals. And I would maybe work with a practitioner to address that for 2 to 3 months and just really like identify symptoms, keep a diet diary, or just like a symptom diary. And we do a medical symptom questionnaire. Sometimes we call it my symptom questionnaire. We can track like if symptoms come down over time, but kind of just write down like everything going on with you right now. And then kind of address how things have changed in the next 2 to 3 months. And then maybe do an organic acid test then, because what I see so often is that people don't address these infections in the body until they're resolved. They just do it until they start to feel better. And it's work. It's expensive, right? It's taking supplements. It's being really careful with your diet. So you start to feel a little bit better and you just kind of slack off. So I think it's really important follow-up testing to let us know, is this fully resolved? Because unfortunately, if we don't fully resolve these infections, the next time we have a stressful event, they're going to rear their ugly heads again. And so we want to make sure that they're resolved. And then, I have a history of health issues, and I know I can never put my feet up and say I've got it. I can never go back to eating junk food or not being careful with my diet and not slide down that slippery slope to poor health again. but it's so amazing to feel healthy. It's so worth it. Like it really, once you kind of cross this threshold, it's really makes you want to take good care of yourself, especially when you've lost your health in the past and you've regained it. But yeah, one of the things that you could do right now is really minimize any processed foods and eat whole, like really healthy proteins, tons of veggies. But I would work with a practitioner who can help you to evict that elevated candida. So candida is something that we all have a small amount in our body. It helps our body decompose after we die. We don't want to be decomposing while we're alive. So we don't want that elevated candida. And in my candida protocol, I have 2 pages of symptoms associated with yeast overgrowth. So some of the classic ones are that white coating on the tongue, nail fungus, but brain fog, skin fungus. I mean, the list of symptoms that can be associated with candida overgrowth is extensive, kind of like gluten. I mean, there's some of these diseases or conditions where there's just a cascade of events that can cause symptoms in your body. Okay, Nora says, can you speak to a sulfur intolerance after taking DMSA for high lead? Interesting, Nora, that this happened to you. I actually haven't heard of that. I haven't worked with anyone that's had that, but it makes sense that happened. And I would maybe not focus so much, like minimize sulfur, but I would want to work with somebody who could figure out why you have the sensitivity now. So maybe you address the high lead and that's gone. But maybe there's something else that's still going on there. I find that these sensitivities or intolerances, they can be resolved, they can be addressed. The body can heal. I've seen people that have healed from 24 food allergies, like an IgE response to 24 different foods. That's a super inflamed body and immune system, but it can be healed. It's just finding the key components that are preventing your body from healing. So hopefully the lead is gone and resolved, but there's something else still going on for you that you likely have this sulfur sensitivity. Amal, hi. Any thoughts on taking NAC as a precursor or taking glutathione? This is an excellent question. I find that I like to try various types of NAC or glutathione or NAC to see what works best for each person, because we're all so unique. There's some people who thrive on a glutathione IV. They do great, and other people crash and burn. I find that there's certain people that do really great with liquid liposomal glutathione, and other people don't. They feel awful. Some people do better with capsules. Glutathione has a pretty short half-life, so if you're taking it for detoxification, it's if you can handle multiple types and can take it like 3 times a day, that can be great. So if somebody can handle like NAC right before bed and a liposomal glutathione first thing in the morning, and then midday a glutathione like capsule, it can be great to kind of do this pleiotropic approach it from different angles, but inevitably you're going to find people that don't tolerate one version. So I know it's a little expensive to, purchase various types, but if you can mix it up and they can handle NAC, liposomal glutathione, there's like a powdered liposomal version that some people tolerate well. Or if they can only tolerate one of those, then focus on that. And then maybe as they heal, they'll be able to tolerate more forms of glutathione. But great question. Oh, time flies. can't believe we've done 55 minutes already. Okay, Priscilla. Each recommendation has to be individual specific because of ethics. However, working with a functional medicine practitioner and consulting with biological engineers, we have made the decision for now that I not receive the COVID vaccine. I do so much genetically and functionally that I do not want to disrupt. Any suggestions as to phrases I could use when being harassed for not getting the vaccine? My protocols are so complex, I don't expect people to listen, but I also don't expect harassment either. So I'm so sorry you're going through this. And it's just such an amazing time on our planet that I just didn't imagine happening. And medical freedom, like what happened with medical freedom? People should have the freedom to choose to get the vaccine or the freedom not to. And there is so much, like you said, that's individual genetics and ethics, right? And I applaud you for working with a functional medicine practitioner and putting your needs first. I don't know how to address. I wish there was some way that I could just hug and support everyone that's going through this right now, but it literally breaks my heart. I talk to so many people that are being harassed or just treated so poorly. And I mean, when did this become anyone else's business but your own? And, you know, your own functional medicine providers, you're working on that with them. I mean, we don't walk up to people and say, have you had a colonoscopy? Right? I mean, I just feel like HIPAA is so violated, and we do so much to protect people's right to privacy with their health issues. And, you know, I know there's people doing medical exceptions and religious exemptions and still getting harassed. I wish I knew something to fix this all, Priscilla, and have it go away. But yeah, I'm just sorry you're going through this. And I wish I knew like the magic thing to say to help people understand, but I wish we could all just step back and, you know, go back to that, like for practitioners, the Hippocratic Oath of first do no harm. And I mean, can't think of the name of it right now, but there's this other like law or decree that's not the right word for it, but that really protects people's right to medical choice. And you know that there's a lot of people that say like, you know, my right to choose what I do with my uterus. So I don't know how they suddenly don't think that there should be a right to what we, you know, inject in our shoulder. But I probably said too much here. It's a very complicated issue, and I wish I had the right answer. But I don't know, maybe each of us on this call could just step back. And I always like to like look at that big picture of, is there anything that I'm doing in my life that's like being critical or judgmental of somebody else's choice that I don't agree with, or I don't understand what's going on with their body? And I just try to use these as like a personal, like, how can I change that in myself and change this energy and still show love to all these people? Because I feel like right now there's so much fear, and hurt people, right? I know that's an overuse saying, but I feel like it just cuts to the gist of this. Anyone right now that's purposely hurting you or being cruel or being judgmental, they're hurting inside, they're scared, they're fearful. And so if we can just have compassion with them, I think it could shift the energy a little bit. Hope that helps. Okay, I know we're at time. Let's see if I can do one more. Melanie says, do you recommend taking digestive enzymes 30-minute or an hour before food intake, or just right before eating for a better effect? Good question, Melanie. Here's my take on digestive enzymes. I like to do that functional medicine 30,000 foot view, because I find so many people are taking digestive enzymes and they're not really helping. So we can't out supplement making sure that we're in parasympathetic or rest and digest before we start eating. So before all of us start eating, we should really make sure that we're in a calm state, that we take 3 to 5 deep inhale, exhales, and that takes us out of fight or flight into rest and digest so that we can actually optimally digest our food. There's no supplement that can do this. And then we need to make sure that we're not watching the news. Literally no one can digest food right now watching the news, not responding to emails, not standing at the counter, not driving in the car, which we've all done it, right? It's this fast-paced society and we're trying to grab food on the go and fit it in. But if we could, and just aim for 1 meal a day right now and then work from there. Like sometimes we can become so overwhelmed with perfect. Sometimes I just put up a sign in where I eat that says breathe and chew. So the second thing is just chewing the food. Like aim to count 30 chews per bite. Put your fork down and really chew the food. And I find that those 2 things are so powerful to support digestion. Now, some people do need enzymes. I find that bitters, which can help stimulate hydrochloric acid, some people do better 5 to 10 minutes before a meal. I don't really I like most digestive enzymes right before you start eating. If it's hydrochloric acid, I learned this from Dr. Tom, it's best after you've had some food, because if you take it before you start eating, it sends this message to the brain, I had plenty of hydrochloric acid, you don't need to make any. And we need our body to be making these, producing these. So if we could look at our food and enjoy all the colors and actually watch the food as we're bringing the spoon and forkful to our mouth, and that's so much messaging getting sent to the brain of what our body naturally should do to help to optimize digestion. And then depending on what kind of digestive enzyme, I don't know if it's in there 30 minutes before, I wonder what's it going to start to digest? Is it going to start to break down the lining? I don't know. I don't like it in there too far ahead. I kind of want it to be there with the food until we can reteach the body to start making optimal amounts of these. I hope that helps. Okay, sorry if I missed all the rest. Why should I cut down on milk-based products if the item used to help heal the gut is milk-based colostrum? Colostrum is very different than the cow's milk that we buy in the store. It's the milk within the first few days. It's a totally different structure. It doesn't have all of those proteins, and it's very healing. It's what turns on inside the baby calf the whole immune system. So I find that there's some people that can't tolerate milk-based colostrum because of their dairy sensitivity. Like Dr. Tom says, in those people, often the benefits outweigh the negatives to at least take it for 2 months, but there's some great serum-derived immunoglobulins that we have on the website, Mega IgG 2000 can be well tolerated for people who can't tolerate gut. But great question, Susanna, but we can't compare. They're totally 2 separate products. So a pasteurized, homogenized cow dairy, that's the cows were loaded full of hormones where they were standing in their own feces and they weren't pasture raised out in the fields. It's not even the same thing as the DR.com colostrum, which comes from pristine cows that are pasture raised, that are fed all, it's all organic, and the way they're treated and handled, and they're not given antibiotics. It's not even the same thing. It's not even in the same realm. So, okay. As you can see, I could hang with you guys all night and go on and on. I love your questions. Thank you so much for honoring us with your time. At theDr.com, we just adore and love and appreciate all of you. So Dr. Tom, I know, looks forward to seeing you next week. Sending you lots of love and healing, and big hugs to everyone. Take good care.